Hi, I'm your host, Anand Sukhadia, and this is the Limitless One podcast. Join me on this journey as I interview the most inspirational souls who are tapping into their limitless blueprint on a mental, physical, and spiritual level to thrive in uncertain times. If you feel you are so much more than just this body, just this life, and want to tap into your limitless potential, you're in the right place. Here we go, starseeds. In the age of increasing violence, if your house was to be broken into, and the only thing between your innocent family and the potential violent criminals was you, how would you react and how would you defend? Are you capable of even basic or advanced self-development measures? The sad truth is, many of us are not. But the time is now to create a plan that could save the lives of your loved ones and yourself. Welcome to the Limitless One podcast, everyone. I am your host, Anand Sukhadia. Today, we are going to be learning from one of the world's best experts in self-defense and tactical firearms training. What we are going to be discussing today is a matter of life and death with our guest and my good friend, Ivan Perdomo. Ivan is a husband and a father to one girl and two boys. They are his main focus when it comes to protection and training. Ivan has been a practitioner in the martial arts for over 40 years, and he has been teaching martial arts and combatives for over 35 years. Ivan is a dive master rating with a PADI for scuba diving for the last 25 years. He is an instructor rating with the NRA for pistol, rifle, and shotgun, and range safety officer. He is a level 1 archer instructor under the USA Archery Organization. He is a tactical combatives instructor for NLB, who services military, federal, and state and local law enforcement and civilians. Ivan teaches hand-to-hand knife defense, CQB, pistol, rifle, carbine, shotgun, tactics, structure clearing, solo active shooter engagements, workplace violence, high-threat vehicle engagement, instruct executives on safe ways to stay out of harm's way while traveling abroad and speaking on these topics to Fortune 500 companies. Welcome to the show, Ivan. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Anand. How are you doing?
Wow, I learned so much about you. I've known you for about 14 years, and I didn't know you did all that. Wow. All I know is that you're out every weekend and you're doing some kind of training in all sorts of amazing things. So thank you for coming on the show today. I think it's really important that we talk about this topic. So let's tell us a little bit about your background, Ivan, so we can kind of understand you a little bit better.
Sure. So I think it all started when I was younger. My parents put me in martial arts in elementary school. And, I grew up just like everybody back in the day, first generation out of Colombia. So my parents were Colombian. We were born here in the States, in New York. And my dad was a little heavy-handed with me, right? Like, that's the way it was. If you did something wrong or he thought you did something wrong, you got a smack or two or three. So when he put me in martial arts, it's that emotional fear factor you get when someone's touching you or hitting you. And I didn't have that based on, my dad kind of indoctrinating me into and getting lumped up. So I really loved it. I enjoyed getting hit. I enjoyed hitting. I didn't have that fear factor. And it's been a passion of mine now. I just recently turned 50. So for 42 years, I've been doing this and I love every moment of it. Yeah.
Wow. Amazing, brother. And what does living a limitless life mean to you?
Wow. That is such a great question. For me, it's perception. My perception on how I can stay focused and be positive, regardless of what life throws at me. For example, I was working in a pharmaceutical company, in the pharmaceutical industry after Wall Street, and I was pretty successful at it. And we had this massive layoff, and I was making millions of dollars for my company, and I thought I was like nobody can touch me, right? I was making so much money, and I got laid off. So it kind of put things in perspective for me, and this whole time it was kind of easy for me to shout and to tell everybody to be positive and stay focused because my life was good. But unfortunately, at the time when I got laid off, my wife was 2 weeks shy of giving birth to our twins, and it was a tough time. So it took me a little bit to really do like a soul search and dive into myself to say, well, what does that really mean to me? And I decided, it was a very cognizant thought process I went through, and I decided, hey, I've got to be positive, right? There's good things happen, right? So this may not look good right now, but I feel that God put that in my way to see how I'd react. And I could react several different ways, but it's really up to me. So stay positive and be focused on the good. And everything I do is through love. It's really helped me out, and it's really helped my family prosper. So
amazing, dude. And I think that a lot of times, anytime an obstacle comes in our way, it's always an opportunity. And I remember we were doing a lot of workouts at the time when that happened. And I just love the fact that you were positive about it. And you were kind of understanding, like, we have to reconcile at some point, like, okay, if something gets put in our way, okay, what is the next step? And then all you had to do is really think about all the things that you're good at, and you create this like amazing, incredible business from it. And we'll definitely get into the story of that a little bit, but let's go back a little bit. Okay, so what really made you love doing martial arts? Because a lot of people learn martial arts when they're young, but you had a lifelong love affair with the martial arts. So tell us a little bit about what was your inspiration for that.
So, that's a great point. And you're right. A lot of people get into it and they don't last. Like, there's always a 1% rule in martial arts. Every martial arts different as far as their ranking system or their belt system. But on the average, it's 5 to 8 years to get a black belt, and you start with 100 people, you will probably end up with less than 10 people that go that long. And about 1% of those people will actually take that black belt test, take it to the next level. And I got to tell you, my first black belt was a huge ego boost to me, because now I felt like, hey, I'm the man, right? I'm Bruce Lee, right? I'm a ninja. I'm ready to go after everyone. Meanwhile, I'm a little kid. I barely know how to tie my shoes. And what am I doing? Well, now I'm assisting instructor. What does that mean at that age? I'm still cleaning the floors. I'm still picking up gis and belts off the floor. But once in a while, the instructor will come over and have me do a teaching block. How to do a roundhouse, how to do this. And I found that at that age, helping people that weren't able to do something just a couple of classes ago to accomplish that task, not only did it make me feel good, but I saw my impact as a little kid on other little kids and older kids. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was pretty fantastic. And I think that is one of my tenets that I've held very strong, very close, very dear to myself, which is helping others to develop. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. There's such a high that comes from it. And they measured like happiness levels, and happiness when you do something for other people or you give a gift, the happiness rating is so much higher, serotonin levels are more than if you were to buy yourself something. So it's the gift that keeps on giving when you empower others, and then they take that in their life and they kind of go forward with it and help other people. So we're spreading like a wildfire of just contribution towards other people. And I know that's like a huge purpose and value in your life is helping others get to that place. And then, okay, so like transition now from the martial arts. First of all, which martial arts did you practice?
Oh, wow. Okay. So I was, again, very fortunate. I have practiced Taekwondo, Shinto-Goju Rai, American Judo, Aikido, Wing Chun, Western boxing, Greco-Roman wrestling, Samba, and of course, one of my all-time favorites, American Bada Kempo. I've cross-trained with other combative instructors, boxing instructors. I've had an extremely lucky ability to hook up with just fantastic practitioners and fighters and train with them, under them, and start to kind of develop my own little system. And now that's what I do. I train other fighters. Yeah.
Amazing. It's great to pull all those different styles together to bring it into more, self-defense on like a real world example. And now you're incorporating the tactical firearms training. So tell us, how did you get into that when it's such a taboo, thing right now, guns? And even like many years ago when you first got into it, it's like, a lot of people are like, oh, like, why would you ever want a gun? Like, you shouldn't have a gun. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And it kind of, so here's the deal with firearms training. I was always interested in it, right? Because what young boy growing up in our age didn't watch a movie, Starsky and Hutch, or didn't watch these cool movies that had guns and want to do that? Well, it turns out that my cousin and his wife and me and my wife, we had nothing to do on a weekend. So we wanted to do something different. And I just Googled a gun class. I had no idea what was entailed. Long story short, we ended up going to New Jersey Firearms Academy in Union, where it was located at the time. And we took a class. It was a one-night class, and it was eye-opening, to say the least. That night, our wives outshot us cold, hands down. They were the best shooters. And my cousin never shot a gun, and I didn't want to shoot a gun. When I first had that gun in my hand, I was like, wow, this is so much power. It kind of scared me a little. And after class, the instructor, the owner, Lateef Dickerson, said, hey, why don't you come back and, we'll talk a little bit more and we'll do some training. And I was like, well, I'm busy, right? I got work, I got a lot of stuff going on. And of course, how much is it going to cost? So I go, well, how much is it going to cost? He goes, listen, just come in and we'll talk. So I went back in and we talked, and he goes, I see something in you, the way you stand, the way you hold a gun. I want to train with you, see how far you can go. And I was like, all right, what the heck, right? So we tried it. Long story short, I become an instructor with him. I become an NRA instructor for pistol, rifle, shotgun. And I end up teaching for him. And I was there for quite some time until that location moved, and I went on to do other things. But that was really it. It was one night shooting with my family and my wife, and realizing that even though I was a little nervous, that it was very challenging for me at the time. I absolutely love the fact that it's not a team sport. I can't count on other people to help me. It's myself. It's where the round hits the paper, and that's not subjective. That's actually the way it is, right? You can talk everything you want. You can dress however you want. You can act however you want. But if the round doesn't hit your target, it's all fluff.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed that. Yeah.
Amazing. I went shooting with you. I think it was like one time we went down to the shooting range in South Jersey. I forget where it was.
Yeah.
But like the first time, that was like the first time I held a gun. And it's crazy because first of all, it's heavy, and then there's a lot of power in there. And like just handling it, putting bullets in it, like my hands were shaking a little bit. I've never experienced anything like that. And what it possesses, the ability to actually like take somebody down with it. So they always say at firearm courses, like never point the gun anywhere other than the target. Keep the gun in the holster, whatever, but it's very interesting. And the more I got to experience it, the less I was afraid of it, and just looked at it as like a tool, right? Like money is a tool. You can be used for good. It can be used for bad. Same thing with firearms, same thing with a knife, same thing with anything. So it's that mental stigma. First of all, people have to get over the mental aspect of it psychologically, and then understanding that, this is something that could protect you, could protect innocent people. And, it's important to have some basic understanding of it.
That's right, man. Amen, brother. You nailed it right on the head. It's exactly that. It's a tool, and it could be used for good. It could be used for things that are not so great. Just like a car, just like a hammer, a screwdriver, just like your fists. It's all about people. It's not about the gun or the ammo or the tools you're using. It's the intent people have behind those tools. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I really want to talk about is obviously everyone knows the last couple of years have been absolutely, different on a level that we've never experienced before in the world. And with that, a lot of like scarcity of food, scarcity of resources, and then a lot more violence. And especially in major cities that were once thriving, like New York, LA, there's so much more violence there. Chicago's always been violent, but it's even more violent now. And it's funny because a lot of these places are the ones with the strictest gun laws. So like, how do we reconcile that when, the people who have the firearms are either the police or the criminals? And then now with the reduction in police resources and response times, obviously, then it becomes a much more dangerous place. And like, New York City, I remember in the 80s and the 90s, it was not a safe place to be.
Right.
It became really, really safe. You could go out at 3 a.m. and not worry about walking anywhere in New York City. And now it's just not that anymore. So tell us a little bit about like what your perception is on, violence and, what we can do to kind of mitigate that.
So I think it all starts with situational awareness. It's your mindset. Either you understand that guns and knives and pipes, bricks, bats, whatever it is you can pick up to defend yourself. They're just as good as you are. First, where's your mind at? Right? Are you prepared? Are you capable? Are you willing? What's your readiness status to do real violence, to confront violence with more effective violence? I like to say that to my students. And you're right. During the Rudy Giuliani era in New York, he really cleaned up the streets. I remember you couldn't go down 42nd Street without getting harassed or even worse, right? And now it's like prior to COVID, it was like Disney World. You took families down 42nd Street. Mm-hmm. You had a good time. And I think the world has definitely changed. In recent, I don't think it's changed for the better. I think you nailed it with reduced police presence, resources, and now we're at a point where police have really, they have an inability to engage because of the risk, the personal risk that their actions can be associated with. And it comes down to you. Are you situationally aware? Can you see something happening before it happens? How do you get to that point? And if you can avoid something, then it's a win, right? Because nowadays, it's such a litigious society that if you get involved with something and you win a physical confrontation, you'll still lose. Yeah. If the police show up, you're both getting arrested. And if you are 100% correct and within the law, you wasted a day or maybe a day and a half. If they find any grounds to charge you, well, then you're going to have to you'll be remanded and you're going to have to post bail, right? And then you have to get an attorney and everything that comes with that. So I think it's very important to tout to everybody, developing your situational awareness, understand certain tells, certain things that will make certain individuals stand out in a crowd. For example, you're in Manhattan, you're on a subway station, and everything's pretty hectic. People are moving and getting to where they got to go, or they're face into their smartphones. If you have one person that's just sticking out, for example, staying there with his hands in his pockets, or her standing there with her hands in the pockets and just staring at everybody, is that normal? Probably not. Does that mean you should be scared or alert? No, but at least you've taken a point of reference and you know where that individual is, where they're standing, and that they're not in the norm. So it should bring your level of awareness to a higher level for that individual on that side. And maybe you don't want to stand there. Maybe you want to stand on the other side of the platform. Or maybe you just want to track where their hands are. If it's a summer and they're wearing a baggy sweatshirt and their hands are inside their sweatshirt, that's kind of not normal.
Yeah.
If you're standing next to somebody and they're sweating profusely, they can be sick, first of all, right? And now with COVID, that's a huge concern. But normal people don't sweat profusely. Mm-hmm. So it's either they're sick or they're nervous or anxious. And why are they nervous and anxious, right? It can be nothing. It could just be an anxiety situation they're dealing with, but we don't know. Or it could be that they're up to something that's no good. But either way, you've taken notice of them, and maybe you don't stand near them. Maybe you stand behind them. Maybe you keep on looking from the corners of your eyes, and you move around to get different angles on them to see if you can see what are they holding under their jacket. If they walk off that platform and they leave a bag, well, that doesn't look good. So you start to avoid and be a little proactive if you're situationally aware. And I think that we could probably avoid a solid 85% of all aggressions towards us without actually engaging.
100%. I think the best case scenario is to avoid the situation all in all, right? So when I'm ever in the subway, like I'll be with my girlfriend and, we'll see somebody, maybe he's like psychologically deranged or something like that. And we'll just like go to the other side or like, be far enough away from this person. Because what's the benefit of staying there? There's only downside to like staying in a situation where the person's a little bit erratic, not to get too close to them or whatever, but also like being aware because like there could be innocent people there, just to be ready just in case. You kind of got to help somebody out. But being on your phone in situations like that, it doesn't really benefit you in any way. It puts you in more danger when you're not aware of what's going on around you.
Absolutely. And I think to that point, Anand, I think it is kind of, at least in my lifetime, it's a modern, it's almost, it's a stigmatism. Everybody has a phone. Everybody has a video streams and texting, and they have got the world essentially at your fingers. But the world has gotten so much smaller because of this technology. And we're good people. We don't go out saying, hey, we're going to jack somebody up today. We're not going to kill somebody. We're not going to mug somebody. We're not going to kidnap anyone today. Mm-hmm. We're doing our job. We're working, we're paying taxes, we're being good citizens, good Americans, we're helping people when we can. But that's just a percentage of us. You have another side to just this world. And I coin it that there's monsters that walk amongst us. They dress like you and I, they talk like you and I, they drive cars and they're at the stop signs right next to us. Mm-hmm. They're sitting across from us at restaurants. So how do you distinguish between us and them? Being situationally aware. But I think that this new era of smartphones has really encapsulated people into a bubble. And unless it comes through their feed and they read it, they give it attention, it's not happening.
Yeah.
So we'll go back to that platform in Manhattan at a train station. And you're in your world right here, and you don't see who's tracking you. These people that have made a living on this phone. If you're on the phone, you're not situationally aware. And they just got to keep an eye on you for a couple of minutes to know that, hey, you're not situationally aware. And you've got nice shoes on, or you got a nice purse. Oh, look at that wedding ring. Look at the watch. What can we get from them? And then you have just people that are crazy, right? Deranged, like you mentioned. People that are on drugs, people that are mentally unstable, people that are alcoholics. They could be drunk, but they want to start something. They want to get it on with you. And that's not a normal behavior.
Yeah.
So again, if you situationally aware and you can eye them, identify them, and stay away from them, hey, that's a win hands down. Mm-hmm. You know?
Absolutely. And there's so many different types of monsters amongst us out there, right? There's people that want to engage in violence. Some people, like you said, that are out, drunk or on drugs and they just don't know any better. There's also people that are cyber, hackers that can steal your credit card information, or there could be kidnappers out there that when you post like, hey, I'm in Central Park, they know exactly where you are by your picture. So there's so many different ways. And I know a lot of people these days that don't post exactly where they are, or they'll do it like a day later just because of the, nowadays, people get stalkers online and, social media has made everyone so accessible and you're intimately involved with people's life stories. And then all of a sudden, you get some crazies in there that are tracking and watching. And, it's very important to understand that element to being situationally aware. situationally aware as well by not giving out so much information about yourself.
You make a great point. I tell a lot of my clients, if you're going to go on vacation, everybody likes to post vacation pictures. Do it after you get home. Do not do it. Hey, check in at Continental as you're leaving, because now your home is
my house is completely empty.
Right? Like, hey, come get me, right? And posting your location. Well, it's nice if you meet up with people that you want to meet up with, but you post a location. Now somebody knows exactly where you are, and you know that, let's say you work in high tech, right? And you're going to be on your phone, you're going to be on your laptop, you're going to be distracted, you're not home, but they know where you are, and they will jack you. They will do bad things to you. So why would you do that? I know when the internet got big and Facebook came out with that location where you can check in, I was checking in everywhere because I'm like, hey, look at all these places I've been. And then one day I stopped, I'm like, what am I doing? I'm actually working against myself for personal security and my family security. I don't want to let people know that I'm away on a work trip and my family's home alone, right? Now they're pretty capable. They can take care of themselves. The house is pretty secure, but why do that? There's no reason to do that, right? If I want to contact somebody, I'll pick up the phone, I'll call them. So yeah, that was a great point, Anand. You don't want to give away all these great little secrets you need to have in order to keep a level of security.
100%. So let's move into one of the big trigger words out there, the Second Amendment. Tell us a little bit about why it's so important.
Wow. So this country was founded on guns. I mean, that's what it comes down to. It was founded on principles, ideals of great men, regardless of what they did or what happened in their personal lives. But we revolted. Okay, we were being discriminated against, right? All the problems that had come over, the British just wanted to tax us more, take away more rights, wanted to control everything we had. And at one point, people said enough is enough. We no longer want you guys here, period. We're here in this new country. We want to be away from you guys. And well, words didn't work. So you had to pick up arms. And without arms, they couldn't defend themselves. And I think the Second Amendment is it's pretty much the bedrock that this country was founded on. If you have a government that gets too strong and is too corrupt, the people have the right to stand up against the government without fear or retribution, where the government's going to say, hey, we're right, you're wrong, when the government works for the people. And I think at certain times, people forget that. Yes. So without arms to defend yourself or to defend our way of life, our freedoms, I think it's a very slippery slope. You know? Very,
very well said. And, you know, in terms of, I think it was like Biden the other day said something about like, oh, nobody should own a gun. And, these people who say that they, the Second Amendment was against, for like a tyrannical government, they need F-15s and nuclear bombs or something like that.
Right. So, I mean, first of all, you take Biden with a grain of salt. Yeah. Our president, respect the office. I don't have to respect or like the person in that seat, but I absolutely respect the office. I think that, certain things that people say, there's always truth to it, at least to a certain degree. And that comment was kind of off the cuff, kind of an emotional response, and it gave us a little insight to how he thinks. Yeah, the government is so powerful that realistically, modern citizens have no way of protecting themselves, regardless of how many guns and how much ammo they have against a government that is so powerful. Yeah. So are we behind the eight ball on that? Possibly. But that doesn't keep us from arming ourselves to defend against these animals, these monsters that walk amongst us that are not only individuals, but they're gangs. There are people that make a living out of hurting other people. And I, for one, I had made a decision long ago that I will not allow myself to be a victim easily. And I am the first and last line of defense for my family. So my thought process behind training other people and training myself is I want to make myself as capable as possible so that every day my clients, my customers, my students, myself included, we can make it home, regardless of what happens. Because when you walk out the door, you hope for the best. But hope isn't a tactic for staying safe, right? So you train with the right people, you keep that diligent, you stay focused on that, and you keep yourself safe, you keep your family safe, and those around you that you love.
Yeah, and I think so much of America is kind of getting on that same point as you just made, because as crimes go up, like firearm sales are at its highest ever. Ammunition is getting so expensive because there's absolutely no supply. And I was just reading something where it's not even just people pro NRA, like Republicans are really going after it. It's the Democrats are buying more guns in Democratic cities. LGBTQ, gay people are buying more guns as well. So it's, people understand the need to protect themselves, especially when they could be a target out there. And like we said, police response times are so much lower. So what are you supposed to do? I got into a small little accident. Somebody hit me from behind and I was waiting for the police to arrive. It was about an hour and a half before they even came. And this was downtown Jersey City. So I don't know what they're doing or if they have a lot of other things that they have to deal with, but imagine it was an actual emergency. There's no way you can go an hour and a half against some kind of violent criminal and try to protect yourself or just wait for the cops to come and help you out.
Yeah, that's a great point. So one of the first things I talk to my students who do security assessments on their home, I always ask them, do you know what the local response time for your neighborhood is for the police? And they're like, no, I have no idea. I'm like, okay, well, let's say your door gets kicked in. Somebody breaks into your house. It's 2:00 in the morning and you call the police. What's the local response, the average response time? Let's say they're supermen and women and it's 5 minutes. Well, they don't realize that, because again, their point of reference are movies and TV shows and all these stories they hear. And unfortunately, it's not the case. So the first cop that gets here does not have to go in. If they see a door broken in and they've got a family, well, they may think of their family and going home at night. So what are they going to do? They're going to pull security and they're going to call for backup. And backup gets there. Let's say they're Superman too. They get there, let's say 3 minutes later. That's 8 minutes now. And now they have two officers. One takes the rear, one takes the front, and they start checking things out. Probably a minute or two. Then they go into the front door and they start clearing the house. Well, cops, unless you're in a specialized unit, they don't have the training behind them to go in, especially with another cop that they haven't trained with before, and start clearing a house effectively. But let's say they do, and let's say they get into the house, and let's say it takes them another 3 minutes to get upstairs. Well, that's 3 minutes on top of 8. That's 11 minutes. 11 minutes for the best response time in the world. And you don't have a plan. You don't have any tools. You don't have any training. And your family's upstairs all hiding in one room. And you don't have a secure door. That door gets kicked in. What happens, right? So 11 minutes with you from the time you picked up the phone, made the call, you got one or two people or more in your house, and you're just waiting for the cops to get there. I'm not saying that's not what you should do. You should definitely call the cops. But I think that it's incumbent upon ourselves as good Americans to protect ourselves, to protect our family. And as a man, as a husband, as a father, well, that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to let anyone hurt my family. I'm not out there advocating going out and hurting people, but I'm certainly going to defend myself with anything or any tool I have. And I think that is a false sense of confidence that people have, that as long as they can pick up and dial 911, they're going to be good. when you pick up the phone down 911, it doesn't put you in this force field or your family. They've got to go through protocols, and it's going to take them however long it's going to take them to get there. But that is always a very big eye-opening conversation I have with a lot of my clients.
Yeah, 100%. And I truly believe the only condoned violence is when you're protecting yourself and loved ones and innocent people, right? When there's an aggressor out there, obviously I don't know any responsible gun owners, and I know many that are going out and doing harm. It's only the people that have illegal guns really that are going out and doing harm. And that's a very important distinction to understand is, people who have the guns, all they want to do is to protect themselves and be secure, because people who are self-responsible are not allowing or waiting for outside entities to go in and help them, because maybe the agendas aren't aligned in that regards.
Right. I agree. And, I think that a lot of the people that are anti-gun, or they just, maybe they may not be anti-gun, but they don't want guns in their life. And that's great, right? We live in a free country where everybody can feel and say what they want. People forget that guns are also used for hunting. They're also used for target practice. And they're also used for competition. You have colleges give out scholarships for shooters. People forget that that's another way of using these tools. It's not just like the daily violence we're getting from Chicago, the daily violence we're getting from New York City or LA or San Francisco. Unfortunately, it's less than 1% of all that violence comes from registered, licensed gun owners. Mm-hmm. It's all the people that get these guns and these tools on the street and are using it for nefarious purposes.
Yeah. And it's a lot of propaganda coming out of media and government on, one particular side that wants all the guns off the street. They're saying, oh yeah, like this person legally, and then he went and he did a mass shooting. It doesn't really work like that. It's so politically motivated. But the funny thing is the people that are protecting these politicians and the media, they have armed security with guns, and they also have private police, they're protecting them. So it's not even like they are like, okay, yeah, nobody needs a gun, I'm going to walk the streets. No, like they're hypocrites, essentially.
I think that's a great point, because a lot of these politicians, they don't send their kids to private school. To public school, they send them to private school, and private school has security. And if you're on a higher level official, then you have a protective detail, not only for yourself, but for your family. Mm-hmm. So they can afford to make their comments and feel the way they do, but they are being protected by people who are trained to defend their families for them. And yeah, some of their tools, they happen to have guns, and they happen to have other things to defend against those monsters that are out there. So why can't you and I have that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So Ivan, let's get into Prometheus Tactical, your business. Tell us a little bit about it. How long have you been around?
Okay, so Prometheus Tactical started a little bit less than 3 years ago. We are now a military contractor. We run the gamut. I'm very blessed that my lane, I stay in my lane, but it's pretty wide. We do hand-to-hand knife defense. We do full combatives, which is rifle, pistol, shotgun, blunted objects, bladed tools. We do solo engagement for active shooters. If you live in a state where you can conceal carry and there is a active shooter situation, we train you on how to respond, how to engage. We do workplace violence seminars. We teach people on certain cues to identify threats before they get physical. So we do an array of, we offer an array of courses, classes, and seminars. They go from one-day classes to weekend seminars, weekend courses that are certified. We teach civilians, law enforcement, military. We work on contract. We work with personal training for individuals. So we have a pretty wide breadth on the security aspect of training.
Yeah, wow. So it's not even like you're just training civilians. It's like you're working with military, you're working with police.
Yeah.
So how do you get to a level where you can start training those types of people?
Well, I mean, it becomes a business, right? You have to be able to network correctly. You have to be able to take on contracts, fulfill those contracts 100%, 110% to get a good rating and get called back. And most of all, you have to keep your skill set up. You can't take on a contract where people don't know you and they're essentially rolling the dice that you are legit. And they look at your certifications, they look at your background. They can't look at getting reviews because you're new and you blow it because you don't know, you can't articulate correctly, or everyone learns differently. So you can't communicate effectively to everybody in the class, and half the class gets it, the other class doesn't, and they're paying you so that every officer or every soldier or every person in that course gets it and completes that course. So I think that, at least for us, we're blessed. We come from a sales background. We come from a very strict background from compliance on Wall Street. So we're able to take that mindset, and we're able to bond. We're able to stick with our curriculum. We're able to change that curriculum on the fly if people are not getting it, and adjust to make sure that everybody understands what we're going through and everybody's able to accomplish whatever tasks they need to accomplish in order to finish that course, to get certified, or just finish that seminar. Amazing. So, I think that is something that helps us kind of distinguish ourselves from the rest of the competition out there.
Yeah, I know Prometheus Tactical has a whole spectrum of stuff that you do, and you just talked a little bit about the high level stuff with law enforcement, military. But also, you told me a story last week about a private seminar you held for a mom and some of her friends. Tell us a little bit about that, because I thought that was probably such a powerful way to introduce your business for people who are just wanting to get into the training.
That's great. Thank you, Anand. So it was a referral, a recommendation for somebody I went to high school with. They referred her friend, and she wanted some training in firearms. And she had been training she had been shooting for a long time. And I got her, and we were able to bond over several courses. She's now shooting way better. And she liked the way I was able to articulate, demonstrate, like my personality. And she said, "Hey, what else do you do?" And I referred her to the website because, and this is an issue I've had my whole life. I don't like to talk very much about myself. I find it very hard. First, I don't even like my voice. I don't even like hearing myself on recordings. So
this could be out on the internet after this podcast.
So it's a little hard for me at times. So bear with me, please. And long story short, she saw the website, she saw the reviews, and she said, "Hey, would you be interested in putting together a women's self-defense course?" And I said, "Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it." So we got together. It was a bunch of moms, a bunch of daughters from the age of, I think it was 11. And I think the oldest mom there was 49. So it was 3 moms and a bunch of kids. And I always have curriculum, but I had to rewrite it for that age group. When we got there, and I brought my video guy, Bruce, he's phenomenally talented. He runs my media, and he does all my social media and pictures and videos. And we get there, and shortly after I introduce myself, that curriculum goes out the window, right? Because it's questions and answers. It's girls.
7-year-old girls.
Exactly. It's young teenagers. They're on their cell phones. They don't want to be there because the only reason they're there is because their mom's making them come. They drove them there. And it was a real testament to how you're able to reach everyone. And I did something, again, on the fly. I grabbed the ladies. I asked them, I said, "Hey, listen, I really kind of want you to experience, as well as your kids, something here today that is something that's very real. If you get attacked, you're going to get choked. And I would rather you experience it here so you have a point of reference. God forbid, in the future, you do get choked. You'll remember this class. You'll remember that you don't have to panic, even though you're going to have an emotional response. You're going to have time, regardless of how effective that choke is on you. And I think your kids, your girls, will benefit from seeing how their moms are able to effectively react or think through that situation. So long story short, I choked all three moms out. And as they're coming through, I'm talking them through. They wake up and they have some tears, they have some snot. They're a little emotional because it is an emotional event. And I had them talk to their daughters about how they felt emotionally and then how they felt physically. And boy, all of the young girls put their phones down. Some were crying, and it kind of really defined the parameters that we were going to train in moving forward for the rest of the day. And I got such positive feedback at the end from not only the moms, but from the girls. I got text messages from the moms telling me that, of course, during dinner, majority of teenagers, what do they have? They sit down with their phone, right? And their daughters were engaging them in conversation about how they're going to change and become more situational aware, how they were not going to walk directly to the car in a parking lot. They were going to look around. And they were telling their moms little takeaways they took away from the class. And it made their moms feel incredible. First, that they're initiating a conversation during dinner, and it's about an event that they just went through and what they learned and the positive takeaways. And of course, getting those phone calls and those texts from the moms, it kind of affirms what I'm doing. So I'm doing something right. I'm helping people out there understand the possibilities of what you can do if you get engaged in a physical confrontation. From a little girl all the way to an older lady, a middle-aged lady that may not have any kind of karate, any kind of jujitsu experience, but they need something effective, something that the moment the class is over, they can do it, because we teach conceptual and we don't just teach specific skills where you throw a punch and then I do this. God forbid, they don't throw the punch that way, or they throw it with the other hand. And now it's not your dominant side. You have to go to your non-dominant side. So we teach an array of different ways of helping the students understand the concepts and the skills that it takes to accomplish those concepts. So that class was probably one of the better classes we've done since we started this company.
Wow. And, at the very minimum, even if the self-defense is like, they don't take it on with them, but at least the situational awareness, these girls that someday they're going to go to college and, they could be in a bar in an uncomfortable situation. So they at least can know like how to protect themselves, at least in a situation like that. You also mentioned one other aspect of the training where there was a husband watching the training, and tell us a little bit about that part of it.
Yeah. So, there was one of the ladies, the host had her husband there, and obviously he wanted to be around to see what guy is training his wife and his daughters. And there came a point where I thought it would be more realistic to have a man defend or attack me than one of the young ladies or one of the moms. So I put myself in a very compromised position where he's on top of me. And I kind of started off because they had a couple of girls that were going to be going off to college. I'm like, hey, something realistic is you're laying down, whether it's you're on the grass, having a picnic in the middle of, college campus, or you're in your dorm and somebody comes in and they get on top of you.
Yeah. Was this like a full guard position?
Yes. So for everyone that doesn't know what a full guard position is, one person, usually it's the victim, is laying on their back, right? And then you have somebody that comes on and they put their knees to the side of your body and they lay on top of you. And that is what's called a full guard. That's a pretty scary position to be in if you've never had that happen to you and you've never had that training, especially if it's a surprise.
Yeah, and it's above the legs, so this way you don't have any of your legs to
exactly. So I had him come over, and he was gracious enough to volunteer, and he gave me all his energy. And as he's giving me all that energy, I'm able to again, through practice and my experience, I'm able, as I'm holding him at bay, I'm able to articulate to their daughters and to the moms there what you should be doing. And just a little quick bump with a little hip thrust, I got him off, and everybody's eyes opened up, right? Because he was bigger than me, and they saw how easy it is to defend against that situation. And then we got into another situation where it was really bad, where if you're on your stomach and someone mounts you from behind with a knife to your throat, how do you get out of that? And everybody's like, well, you don't, right? You have to give in. And I'm like, well, you're right. But if you're able to create the right opening, you can defend against that. You can definitely defend if you're able to move and create that opening. And it's all through training. So I had him volunteer again. And I defended against it. Everybody's eyes opened up even more. And again, that was after lunch. And after lunch, it was a long day. Kind of opened everybody's eyes again, and it set the tone for the rest of the course, which is pretty awesome. Yeah.
And the dad was very, very impressed with how you taught his daughter and his wife.
Yeah, I mean, he was so impressed that he gave me a tip. And I got to tell you, very kind, very generous. It was the largest tip I've ever gotten. So it was phenomenal. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know anyone in their right mind who wouldn't want their kids and their spouse to be protected with basic self-defense skills. I mean, this is like I believe it should be like a requirement in schools. Like they should teach this stuff, why not have those skill sets then rather than, you should have the skill sets rather than not have the skill sets. Whether you want to use them or not, it's up to you. But
I agree 100%. And so one of the things that I changed from the beginning is it wasn't a women's self-defense course. It was a women's fighting course. Okay. Because I think it's very important to differentiate. You're never going to win by defending. Never. Well, maybe, God forbid, guy slips and falls, hits his head or whatever, but you need to fight. At some point, you need to flip that switch and you need to become the aggressor and more efficient at violence in order to stave off that attack. So we no longer call it self-defense. We call it fighting courses, right? So you have fighting women. It was a women's course and they learn how to fight. So that kind of changes their perception. Their mindset starts moving in the right direction. And then we add on the concepts, we add on the scenarios, and it worked out great.
Yeah, just from a psychological point of view, self-defense is almost like, okay, stay back, but fighting is like, okay, I am going to defend the fuck out of myself.
Right, you're capable.
Fuck with me, they're done. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Awesome, brother. How can we learn more about Prometheus Tactical, and who are the type of people that you work with?
All right, so we're on social media, and that is our biggest avenue for communication. It's Facebook for Prometheus Tactical. Instagram, it's Prometheus Tactical. We just started on Twitter for Prometheus Tactical. Our website is P for Prometheus Tactical Training, so www.ptacticaltraining.com. And it gives us, when you go on there, it gives you all the courses, all of our reviews, what we do, why we do it. It kind of gives you the whole history of the company. That's primarily. And then we have an email, we have phone number, all of that's on the website. And I would say a few times a week, these aren't even customers yet or clients, they're calling just to find out information. Mm-hmm. And I'm pretty available throughout the day. If you leave me a message, I get back to you definitely within a day. Emails are within a day. Texts are within a few hours. And people are asking me about guns and rifles and ammo and self-defense. And they ask me questions about the laws. Now I'm an attorney. I don't ever say I'm giving out legal advice because I'm not. But I help them and I direct them to the right places and I share with them my experiences. And a lot of those phone calls or emails or texts over time have become customers and clients because I didn't just put them off or I didn't give them a quick response. I actually gave them time like a person because we're all human. We all want to be safe. We all want to interact with each other. We don't want someone else picking up the phone or writing a very aloof response. You want to make contact with people. You want to get to know them. You want to bond with them. Mm-hmm. Know that, hey, they're good people because there are good people out there. And those are the types of people we want to train with. Now, on the other end, I have, unfortunately, starting this company, I had a bunch of people let's say a bunch of people that had contacted me for different reasons, and I had to not move forward with training these people. You know, when you have those hairs in the back of your neck stand up, you get those spidey senses. Well, I stay away from them. And those are people that are asking me, well, hey, yeah, I took this class to defend myself, but I really want to learn how to just snap someone's neck. I really want to learn how to really hurt somebody. And I'm like, well, that's not what we do. Yeah. That is something that can happen when you're fighting, but we're not going to teach you that. If that's what you're interested in, you got to go somewhere else, right? Or unfortunately, I've had women that are in a bad situation, domestic situation at home, and they want to learn how to shoot. And I've had to redirect them, and obviously that is not what we jump into right away. We had a young lady that reached out. She was in a domestic situation, living with a boyfriend that was older than her. And she came to me for some training. She wanted to learn how to shoot. I said, hey, if you're in this situation, why don't you leave? She goes, well, I'm in the process of leaving. I said, okay, well then why don't we start training you on situational awareness, empty hands. We'll do some bladed defense until you move. Once you move out of there and you want to progress, then we'll move on to shooting. And it was great. And I'm glad to say that she did have a situation while she was training with me. She was able to defend herself and she got out of there. And those are the stories that I got to tell you, Anand, make all the grinding, all the training so worthwhile to see that this young lady was able to defend herself based on principles and concepts that we at Prometheus hold true and dear and are able to communicate, to transfer that knowledge to these people that they can do it, that can defend themselves, that can defend their families. I just think it's all worth it when you hear stories like that.
Wow. And and just giving her that simple advice of like, yo, don't go straight for the guns in a way, that could have saved her a lot of trouble going forward, so it's always the last line of defense, obviously. As we wrap up, Ivan, have a couple last questions. What does God or spirituality mean to you, and what role does it play in your life?
So God plays a very big part in my life. When I was younger, it didn't play as big a role because I think I was more self-centered, more egotistic. The world kind of revolved around me at a certain point. And then I had my first son, and I was a young kid. I was 21, and over time, it has helped me realize that the world doesn't revolve around me. The world is what it is, and you make your own path. And then good things and bad things happened in my life, and I started thinking, wow, those are all because of the decisions I've made. But at certain points, I feel like I didn't make those decisions. I was kind of like pushed towards those decisions, whether they were moral, ethics, or spiritual. And I decided that I'd be more open to try to start a relationship with God. And my spirituality, I believe, blossomed at that point. And just knowing that there's something greater than myself, and that I'm just a cog in that giant wheel. I think that it has helped me stay true to myself. It's helped me to stay ethically and morally grounded to my family, to my friends, to my students. And it's helped me evolve as a person. I'm very thankful that I'm around. I don't have a lot of friends, and I certainly include you as one of those friends. And I again, at this point, I'm not that I'm super old, but I turned 50, and I don't want to waste time. So I only spend my time with good people that are very genuine and loving. And I think that by accepting God and by trying to live by his laws, and again, we're all fallible, we're all human, but to consistently come back to that love, that truth, that wholeness has helped me become a better person, a better friend, a better husband, a better father, and certainly a better instructor. I teach from the point of view, from the point of love, that we don't go out to hurt anyone. We're defending. And by defending, we have to turn the tables on our attackers and we have to be offensive. But that is not who we are. It's part of who we are. So I teach from a point of love and caring, and knowing that there is something much greater than myself and my family. And that keeps me humble. It keeps me focused, and it keeps me very in tuned and aware of what I need to do in order to get to that next point in my life.
So well said. And why did you come to Earth as Ivan Perdomo? What did you want to experience?
Wow, that is a great question, and a question that I think only you could ask. For all the numerous conversations we've had in the past, I think that I'm here. Let's just take a moment to really analyze that question. I think that I strongly believe that we have several lives, and we can relive certain lessons if we don't learn. And I think that I'm at a point in my life where I'm learning, or I think that I've isolated what I need to learn in this life about myself in order to move to my next life, my higher spirituality. And I attribute that by having good people like yourself around me, my wife, and other key people that may or may not be here at the moment, but they've had a very positive impact on my life when we were together. So I strongly feel that in this life, I am focused on giving, on teaching, and being true to myself. Yeah.
Beautiful, brother. And I want to thank you, first of all, for coming on the podcast. Thank you for being an amazing friend. I absolutely love you as a brother. And, thank you for the work that you do as well, because it's so needed. And, the world that we're living in, there's so much uncertainty, and you bring a little bit level of more confidence in people's lives if they know how to defend themselves. So I highly encourage anyone out there who has a little bit of confusion about everything in terms of self-defense, situational awareness, and if they want to start training tactical firearms training, Ivan is the guy. You can see how compassionate he is and how educated and how intelligent he is with the whole thing. So that's your guy right there.
Anand, thank you so much. And I should have said this at the beginning, and I apologize I didn't, but you're a tremendous friend. You're a tremendous person. I love you. And I thank you so much for inviting me on this little adventure we went on today. I really appreciate it. And again, anything you ever need, brother, I'm here for you.
Take care, brother. I appreciate you. Love you.
All right. Bye-bye.